Chapter 7 Tribes, Nomads and Settled Communities. You saw in Chapter 2, 3 and 4 how kingdoms rose and fell. Even as this was happening, new arts, crafts and production activities flourished in towns and villages. Over the centuries, important political, social and economic developments had taken place. But social change was not the same everywhere because different kinds of societies evolved differently. It is important to understand how and why this happened. In large parts of the subcontinent, society was already divided according to the rules of Varna. These rules, as prescribed by the Brahmins, were accepted by the rulers of large kingdoms. The difference between the high and low and between the rich and poor increased under the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals. This hierarchy between social classes grew further. Beyond big cities, tribal societies. There were, however, other kinds of societies as well. Many societies in the subcontinent did not follow the social rules and rituals prescribed by the Brahmins, nor were they divided into numerous unequal classes. Such societies are often called tribes. Members of each tribe were united by kingship bonds. Many tribes obtained their livelihood from agriculture, others were hunter-gatherers or herders. Most often they combined these activities to make full use of natural resources of the area in which they lived. Some tribes were nomadic and moved from one place to another. A tribal group controlled land and pastures jointly and divided these amongst households according to its own rules. Many large tribes thrived in different parts of the subcontinent. They usually lived in forests, hill, desert, and places difficult to reach. Sometimes they clashed with the more powerful caste-based societies. In various ways, the tribes retained their freedom and preserved their separate culture, but the caste-based and tribal societies also depended on each other for their diverse needs. This relationship of conflict and dependence gradually caused both societies to change. Who were tribal people? Contemporary historians and travelers give very scanty information about tribes. A few exceptions apart, tribal people did not keep written records, but they preserved rich customs and oral traditions. These were passed down to each new generation. Present day historians have started using such oral traditions to write tribal histories. Tribal people were found in almost every region of the subcontinent. The area and influence of a tribe varied at different points of time. Some powerful tribes controlled large territories. In Punjab, the Khokhar tribe was very influential during the 13th and 14th centuries. Later, the Gakhar became more important. Their chief Kamal Khan Gakhar was made a noble Mansabdar by Emperor Akbar in Multan and Sindh. The Langas and Arguns dominated extensive regions before they were subdued by the Mughals. The Balochis were another large and powerful tribe in the northwest. They were divided into many smaller clans under different chiefs. In the western Himalaya lived the Sephard tribe of Gaddis. The distant northeastern part of the subcontinent too was entirely dominated by tribes, the Nagas, Awans and many others. In many areas of present-day Bihar and Jharkhand, Chiro chiefdoms had emerged by the 12th century. Raja Man Singh, Akbar's famous general, attacked and defeated the Chiros in 1591. A large amount of booty was taken from them, but they were not entirely subdued. Under Aurangzeb, Mughal forces captured many Chiro fortresses and subjugated the tribe. The Mundas and Santals were among the other important tribes that lived in this region and also in Odisha and Bengal. The Maharashtra, Highlands and Karnataka were home to Kolis, Berats and numerous others. Kolis also lived in many areas of Gujarat. Further south, there were large tribal populations of Koragas, Vetars, Marwas and many others. The large tribe of Bhils was spread across western and central India by the last 14th century. Many of them had become settled agriculturists and some even zamindars. Many Bhil clans nevertheless remained hunter-gatherers. The bones were found in great numbers across the present-day states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. How nomads and mobile people lived. Nomadic pastoralists moved over long distances with their animals. They lived on milk and other pastoral products. They also exchanged wood, ghee, etc. with settled agriculturists for grain, cloth, utensils, and other products. They bought and sold these goods as they moved from one place to another, transporting them on their animals. The Banjaras were the most important trader nomad. Their caravans was called Tanda. Sultan Alauddin Khilji Chapter 3 used the Banjaras to transport grains to the city markets. Emperor Jahangir wrote in his memoirs that the Banjaras carried grain on their bullocks from different areas and sold it in towns. They transported food grain for the Mughal army during military campaigns. With the large army there could be 100,000 bullocks carrying grain. Many pastoral tribes reared and sold animals such as cattle and horses to the prosperous people. Different castes of petty peddlers also traveled from village to village. They made and sold wares such as ropes, reed, straw matting, and coarse sacks. Sometimes mendicants acted as wandering merchants. There were castes and entertainers who performed in different towns and villages for their livelihood. Changing society, new castes and hierarchies. As the economy and the need of society grew, people with new skills were required. Smaller castes or jatis emerged within Varna. For example, new castes appeared amongst the Brahmins. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste-based society and given the status of jati. Specialized artisans, smiths, carpenters, and masons were also recognized as separate jatis by the Brahmins. Jatis rather than Varna became the basis for organizing society. Deliberation on jati. A 12th century inscription from Uyyakondan Udayar in Tiruchirappalli Taluka in present-day Tamil Nadu describes the deliberation in a Sabha of Brahmins. They deliberated on the status of a group known as Rathkaras, literally chariot makers. They laid down their occupations, which were to include architecture, building coaches and chariots, erecting gateways for temples with images in them, preparing wooden equipment used to perform sacrifice, building mandapas, making jewels for the king. Among the Kshatriya, new Rajput clans became powerful by the 11th and 12th centuries. They belonged to different lineages such as Hunas, Chandelas, Chalukyas and others. Some of these too had been tribes earlier. Many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agriculture areas. Developed society was emerging and rulers used their wealth to create powerful states. The rise of Rajput clans to the position of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. Gradually, with the support of the Brahmins, many tribes became part of the caste system, but only the leading tribal families could join the ruling class. A large majority joined the lower jatis of caste society. On the other hand, many dominant tribes of Punjab, Sindh and the northwest frontier had adopted Islam quite early. They continued to reject the caste system, the unequal social order prescribed by Orthodox Hinduism was not widely accepted in these areas. The emergence of states is closely related to social change amongst tribal people. Two examples of this important part of our society are described below. A closer look, the Gonds. The Gonds lived in a vast forested region called the Gondwana or country inhabited by Gonds. They practiced shifting cultivation. The large Gond tribe was further divided into many smaller clans. Each clan had its own Raja or Rai. About the time that the power of the Delhi Sultans was declining, a few large Gond kingdoms were beginning to dominate the smaller Gond chiefs. The Akbarnama, a history of Akbar's reign, mentioned the Gond kingdoms of Garha, Katanga that had 70,000 villages. The administrative system of these kingdoms was becoming centralized. The kingdom was divided into Gards. Each Gard was controlled by a particular Grand clan. This was further divided into units of 84 villages called Chaurasi. The Chaurasi was subdivided into Barhots, which were made up to 12 villages each. The emergence of large states changed the nature of Gond society. Their basically equal societies gradually got divided into unequal social classes. Brahmins received land grants from the Gond Rajas and became more influential. The Gond chiefs now wished to be recognized as Rajputs. So Amandas, the Gund Raja of Gadkatanga, assumed the title of Sangram Shah. His son Dalpat married Princess Durgavati, the daughter of Salvahan, the Chandil Rajput Raja of Mahoba. Dalpat, however, died early. Rani Durgavati was very capable and started ruling on behalf of her 5-year-old son Bir Narayan. Under her, the kingdom became even more extensive. In 1565, the Mughal forces under Asaf Khan attacked Gadkatanga. A strong resistance was put up by Rani Durgavati. She was defeated and preferred to die rather than surrender. Her son too died fighting soon after. Gadkatanga was a rich state. It earned much wealth by trapping and exporting wild elephants to other kingdoms. When the Mughals defeated the Gonds, they captured a huge booty of precious coins and elephants. They annexed part of the kingdom and granted the rest to Chandra Shah, an uncle of Bir Narayan. Despite the fall of Gadkatanga, the Gond kingdoms survived for some time. However, they became much weaker and later struggled unsuccessfully against the stronger Gundelas and Marathas. The Ahoms. The Ahoms migrated to Brahmaputra Valley from present-day Myanmar in the 13th century. They created a new state by suppressing the old political system of the Guyan's landlords. During the 16th century, they annexed the kingdoms of the Chutias 1523 and the Koch Hajok 1581 and subjugated many other tribes. The Ahoms built a large state, and for this they used firearms as early as the 1530s. By the 1660s, they could even make high-quality gunpowder and cannons. However, the Ahoms faced many invasions from the southwest. In 1662, the Mughals under Mir Jumla attacked the Ahom kingdom. Despite their brave defense, the Ahoms were defeated, but direct Mughal control over the region could not last long. The Ahom state depended upon forced labor. Those forced to work for the state were called packs. A census of the population was taken. Each village had to send a number of packs by rotation. People from heavily populated areas were shifted to less populated places. Ahom clans were thus broken up. By the first half of the 17th century, the administration became quite centralized. Almost all adult males served in the army during war. At other times, they were engaged in building dams, irrigation systems, and other public works. The Ahoms also introduced new methods of rice cultivation. Ahom society was divided into clans or khels. There were very few castes of artisans, so artisans in the Ahom areas came from the adjoining kingdoms. A khel often controlled several villages. The peasant was given land by his village community. Even the king could not take it away without the community's consent. Originally, the Ahom worshipped their own tribal gods. During the first half of the 17th century, however, the influence of Brahmins increased. Temples and Brahmins were granted lands by the king. In the reign of Sib Singh 1714 to 1744, Hinduism became the predominant religion, but the Ahom kings did not completely give up their traditional belief after adopting Hinduism. Ahom society was very sophisticated. Poets and scholars were given land grants. Theatre was encouraged. Important works of Sanskrit were translated into the local language. Historical works known as Buranjis were also written, first in the Ahom language and then in Assamese. Conclusion. Considerable social change took place in the subcontinent during the period we have been examining. Worn-based society and tribal people constantly interacted with others. This interaction caused both kinds of societies to adapt and change. There were many different tribes and they took up diverse livelihoods over a period of time. Many of them merged with caste-based society. Others, however, rejected both the caste system and Orthodox Hinduism. Some tribes established extensive states with well-organized systems of administration. They thus became politically powerful. This brought them into conflict with larger and more complex kingdoms and empires.